Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be starting a new series on the channel. We're going to be doing a rating climb with the Jobava London as white, and with black we're going to be playing the Karo Khan and the Slav defense. So enjoy! We get a white game, gonna go d4, and yeah, pretty much playing knight c3 against most of black's moves. And let's see, we have knight f6, gonna go bishop to f4. And we have knight c6, which, as well as according to the Leech's database, I've actually had a look on this position. This is actually quite a frequent mistake because you can just go knight b5, and yeah, black is no longer having a good way in defending that pawn on c7. Believe it or not, e5 is like the only move, and yeah, we can just take. Hitting the knight. Knight h5 is best, but I'm expecting opponent to play knight e4. And against knight e4 we will have a pretty beautiful tactic that, yeah, I'm quite excited about. Hope we get it on the board though. Opponent is taking his time on this one. On knight h5 I think we're gonna be playing e3. Just defending the bishop and reinforcing the e5 pawn because we can just take and defend it. Opponent plays bishop e6, which is just giving up the knight. The tactic that I wanted to mention was, in case of knight e4, we could have actually collected the pawn on d5, because after queen takes, we can win back the queen after knight c7, hitting both the king and the queen. And funnily enough, I have a TikTok about this trap. I think was like one of the first ones, and yeah, I can actually check it out on Snapchat. So just please bishop e6, gonna be taking. He takes with a queen. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about taking on c7, going for the fork. He's gonna move the king, we take the rook, and then he's got like this queen b2 move in the end of the line. I'm wondering if that gives him any counterplay, but I guess not, so I'm just gonna go for it. So yeah, we're just cashing in the the rook pretty much. Can get the bishop as sort of compensation, but I'm thinking about somehow blocking this check on b4. That is like kind of annoying because it also manages to win the b2 pawn in the process. So actually contemplating about a move such as like c3, take away this square. And like if we count the pieces, actually I have like 3 minors. He's got 3 minors, but we do have the extra rook, which should count for something, I guess. Yeah, other than that, I can play queen d2, forcing queens off, like bishop b4. There's like simply c3 move, but I think keeping queens on can actually be helpful for us, since black's king is also a bit vulnerable, I think. So just gonna play like knight f3, e3. Okay, bishop c5, he's just hitting this pawn, but first of all, I can play e3, hitting the queen, but I will just go like knight f3. I think it's better because it's like developing. In reality, it might not really even matter that much, but yeah, we're gonna be playing e3 anyways, most likely. Does go queen b8, trying to go after the knight, but yeah, I mean, the knight is trapped. I can also play e4. Try to like create a counterattack. I think we're gonna go for that. Also opening up bishop's path and threatening to take on d5 and go for the fork. Yeah, a3. The thing with a3 in this position is that, well, it was fine, but c3 is a bit more useful in a way, because after I played c3, I'm also sort of taking this square under control, and like with single move, I'm controlling 2 squares instead of 1, if that makes any sense. So after e4, opponent goes d4. If I take with a pawn, his idea is to go bishop b4 check, and we're gonna be having a pretty hard time defending against that. So for this reason, I'm actually considering just developing with the bishop on b5. He takes the knight, we do take, and then we take on d4 with a knight. I think that is like cleanest here. Queen takes on a8. We can take on d4 as I was saying. We can also just like castle with the idea of taking with a pawn, and then there will be an additional threat of going d5, simply forking these two pieces, which I think might be even stronger. You can just take. Really want to take. I mean, at this point, pretty much anything is winning. This is also winning as well. Also just like moving the bishop away. I guess just taking on c6 feels so natural, and then we just like take with a knight on d4. Yep. Hitting the bishop, threatening all kinds of discoveries. Have king e7. Also thinking about maybe like going knight f5. I think we just take though, because like king e6, we've got like queen coming in with check on g4. If he like takes with a pawn, maybe with like same queen g4 idea. I think that is fine. He just takes with the pawn. I think we're gonna go for like queen g4 as I was saying, just hitting the pawn on g7, and when he plays king f7, I'm gonna be bringing this guy into the game, threatening rook d7, and among other things I could have also played something else, and this simply allows queen g5, hitting the king and the bishop, and then like king d6, we can bring the rook with check. So this is pretty much game over now after queen g5, because we're winning another piece. Honestly, the position was like completely winning anyways, but you still had to be like a little bit careful. Now we just collect the free stuff, then we can just bring the rooks. His king is super weak as well. Just bringing rook, probably taking. Not in this case. I'm just gonna go rook d6, trying to show a nice tactic, because if he goes queen b6, we have rook d7, deflecting the king and winning the queen. So that would be nice to get on the board. Otherwise, like we're taking the c6 pawn, and on queen b7 we can just double up. And he doesn't really have a good way in dealing with rook d7 move. Does go queen b5, but this is sort of winning. Rook d7 should also be winning. I guess we start queen a7, and on king c8 we can like either go queen a8, pick up the rook. We can play this move and play for the checkmate. Might be even better. Big threat is here. Queen b8, like only move, but then we like take on a6 and on b7. Yeah, we can just collect that, take on b7, and that's game. Okay, that is GG, I guess. This is a very common trap that you can get in the Jobava. Pretty much all the low rated players develop the knights, because I guess they've seen a video where they say you should be developing knights before bishops, but that is actually just running into knight b5, and all of a sudden black does not have a good way in defending this one. And yeah, the trick that I wanted to show you earlier was knight e4. We can just take on d5 and win back the queen while we are up 2 pawns with a completely winning position. Here we get the white pieces, meaning that we're gonna have a Jobava London, gonna go d4. Yeah, knight f6, knight c3. Idea to play e4, so he stops with d5. Getting the bishop out on f4. Let's see what my opponent does. And already like second Jobava game that we get, second time they do this blunder, so you can like really take advantage of this, guys. There's like a lot of free elo. Just go knight b5. You're simply winning that pawn on c7, I'm telling you. And opponent goes for e5, which is sort of the best try. We're gonna be taking that pawn, hitting the knight, and I'm really hoping that we'll see knight e4 on the board. I think best move in this position is actually knight h5, hitting the bishop where I'll have to play e3, but yeah, okay, opponent goes knight d7, but here we have another juicy move. Okay, go e6, hitting the knight and the c7 square once again. He still has like knight e5 to defend against the disaster, but as I was expecting, we managed to get that knight onto c7 eventually. Have king f7, just taking the free rook at this point, and yeah, I mean, when you play the Jobava London, I guess you've got to be feeling comfortable winning positions, if that makes any sense. So like you're up a rook, and then you need to have like the technique to just like finish developing, trade pieces, try to stop counterplay. It should be good to go. I think if you're playing Jobava London below 1000 elo, you're gonna be getting into this trap quite a lot, and as you can see, you can just get free wins from the opening just like that. So my opponent just like hitting the bishop, which we will be defending. Again, you have the opportunity to give a check, but it's not like, you know, whenever you have a check you should go for it, right? I mean, just go for the check if it wins something in exchange. Also, there's this saying that whenever a patzer sees a check, he goes for it. You gotta keep it in mind. I do go for the checks quite frequently, but you shouldn't. So after knight c5, I'm thinking to just try to bring the knight back into the game. There's also b4 idea, but then queen c3 comes as an intermezzo. I think at this point what we should really do, try to ignore the unnecessary complications and just try to get castled first, and yeah, then we can look for fun lines. Okay, so my opponent goes e5, hitting the bishop, but it also allows me to collect the pawn on d5, which looks pretty juicy. Also we check, expecting bishop e6, queen e4, and we'll see. If he takes, I think we just take back with the pawn. If he takes the knight, then we actually have knight g5 as a big move. Takes there, as expected. This is also quite a powerful move. I think I'm gonna go for that. Creating a direct threat of taking and then knight g5. I think I like that better than e takes on f4 since it's a bit more forcing. And one of the like golden rules whenever you're like up material is that you should be trading as many pieces as you can. Try to get into like rook against knight endgame, or even if it's like a winning king and pawn endgame. Well, whenever you're like up a pawn, all the king and pawn endgames are generally won. So that is also like a super useful tool for converting more games. I think I'm just gonna be taking now, reinforcing the knight g5 threat. I'm not really like worried about the spin because he doesn't really have a way to move the bishop away because he is pinned himself. The only diagonal he can move the bishop to is literally these two squares, and now we can just like take with check. If he blocks with the rook, that runs into knight g5, as well as if he blocks with a queen. Yeah, just gonna be playing like knight g5 now. Also keeping an eye on the h7 pawn, maybe we can actually get that queen. And among other things, this could be a thing. Closing the king and then mating it on h7. Pretty much just catching the black king in a mating net. Does go queen g6. Think we can just bring this guy over. Need to bring all the pieces into the attack. The other rook was fine as well. It's just that sort of out of reflex I'm using this move because sometimes when they take, you have like an intermezzo, which you want if it comes with a check, obviously. You can just take there, and on queen takes there's knight h7, and then we win the queen, and on king takes can bring the other rook with tempo. And then I think knight e6 looks really appealing. Can also give a check. How about we zigzag? I think this would be a nice way of getting closer. Yeah, just like queen d5. Just going for the little zigzag here. Still can't play rook e8 because, well, queen takes, but how about we go queen f5? Trying to sort of deflect his queen and be like, oh no, my queen. My beautiful queen on f5, he can just take it. We have knight e7 by my opponent. Well, I can just take the free knight, I guess. Same motive. Oh, actually take the queen better because then we get the mate. Yeah, just mating now. I won't pre-move it because actually some people get get frisky about pre-moves. Like I've had someone on YouTube saying that they get a bit confused when I have all those pre-moves. So I'll actually try to play this speedrun without any pre-moves. I should actually like disable them somehow. So I just like had this reflex of doing them. I'll actually like disable them right now. Actually, someone asked me why am I not like playing e3. So if we're actually trying to compare this to like a main line, let's say they play e6. I think here you can go like knight b5 as well. Even though I believe Hans Niemann gives e3 in his course, if my memory doesn't fail me right now. He gives e3 as his main move, even though he also mentions knight b5, and there's like this line where I think there's this super nice cheese after, I think it was like a6 that you go b4, ab, and then you take here, and this is kind of nice because of the spin. I don't really remember what the refutation was, but I would definitely play knight b5 because I think it's more fun. And also I expect a lot of people to play knight e6 rather than giving the check. And these positions are like interesting, I've looked them up. This knight on a6 is actually like quite stupid, and even like let's say line could go c6, knight c3, there's this threat usually, so they play like knight e7, and then you can just go like knight f3, knight e5, bishop d3, queen f3, try to castle long, g4, and so on. But I'll better try to get this in action rather than showing it on the board, right? And gonna be starting with d4 once again. d5, playing knight c3, going for the Jobava London, going bishop f4. And I have a video about knight f6 in this position where white can play knight b5 and we just win. Play z6. Yeah, well, we can still go knight b5. He's gonna have bishop d6 as a defense. But okay, I mean, we can at least win the bishop pair in that scenario, so we're gonna be taking that. And yeah, now just try to play a normal game. Go e3, bishop e2, castle, trying to say that the bishop pair is a long-term asset. He just goes e5, which is losing a pawn as far as I can see. Can just like take twice. Yeah, we're up a free pawn while also having the bishop pair. And now I'm gonna be taking on g7, winning the rook. Yeah, just keep taking stuff. He's got a knight on e4. I'm guessing we can take the pawn on d5 as well. He's got like a check on b4, but we can just play c3, I'm assuming. Apparently we just ended this game. Not really like a lot of history behind it. We're gonna be opening up with d4, and then on d5 we play knight c3, going for the Jobava London. You play bishop f4 next, and yeah, against e6 could have gone e4. Yeah, going back into the French defense, but that's not really the point. And when I'm playing with bishop b4, pinning the knight immediately, which is kind of taking me out of book because yeah, normally would like to jump with the knight over to b5 and yeah, create threats against the c7 square. So yeah, against this, I guess we're just gonna be playing e3, allowing him to take on c3, and if he takes without me forcing it, then we sort of win at least half a tempo, I would say. Play knight f3 now. Not sure about the development of the knight to e7 overall, because just seems a bit more active to f6, maybe controlling the square on e4. And now he could be potentially looking for this idea, but I'm gonna be playing bishop d3 anyways. Goes bishop b7, and I think we can simply castle, and I'm kind of waiting for him to go there, and we might be able to go for the Greek gift. Combine with knight g5, queen h5, and yeah, I don't think he can actually defend there. Now opponent plays c5, but all of a sudden knight b5 becomes a playable move because, well, we're no longer pinned because we have just castle. And against c4, well, He's pretty much, I think, kind of lost at this point because this is a double threat in c4, covering d6, but then it allows us to go knight c7, and I would say it's really important that after king f8, we don't take, okay, he takes with a queen. We have a bit of a queen sack. Yeah, I guess he just missed the fact that the knight was defended. But what I was trying to say in this position is that, well, it was important after he moves the king, we just simply drop the bishop and then take the rook. Because if we take the rook first, he can actually take this guy here, and the knight on a8 remains sort of trapped. And he would have got like 2 minor pieces for the rook. So it would have been important to play bishop e2. But okay, now we're just up a queen. He plays knight c6. We can just keep the bishop, just retreat to e2. And yeah, we're up a queen for a knight at this point. Just take, play like rook b1. You can simply take that pawn. And take with a bishop, hitting g7. This is also a threat. He does castle. I'm gonna, yeah, try to make things uncomfortable for my opponent and pin him. And now I'm pinching this rook. Can still play like knight c6 or bishop c6, but I think we're being pretty annoying. Now we can trade pieces. He's forced to like take there. Can take back, winning pawn on d5, collecting it with the rook. Play queen d3, hidden threat of taking. We can just like push the pawns, just get it like e5, push f4, f5. Okay, taking the bishop. Now I can just trade a pair of rooks. Yeah, we do see the trade, and then yeah, next step would be to trade his last piece. I think I'm gonna, yeah, just like activate my rook. Next, playing queen c7 and rook d8. This is like easiest way to win all the time. No need to, you know, actually try to go for the mate immediately. You can just like trade off his pieces, and it's gonna be a really easy win. Yeah, rook d8 coming in next. Okay, I mean, now that we'll just grab that free pawn and, you know, can even double. Rook g8 like only move. Okay, and we get a mate. So yeah, we had a pretty tricky opening. Like, this was a bit surprising that he went for bishop b4. So he kind of surprised me a bit in the opening, and then the thing that I wanted to like mention in this position, if he castles instead of going c5, I'm wondering why the board color has switched. Is this normal? So yeah, like point was here to take on h7 and then play knight g5, and the pieces are coming in. I thought this should be like mating, like rook e8, and like easiest win is just to force his king to like f8. Then he can take on e6, pick up queen next. Hey everyone, thanks a lot for making it this far into the video, and in case you're looking for more content, make sure to check out video from the previous London rating climb that I did, or perhaps one from the French defense. So I'd like to thank you for watching. I'll see you around on the channel. Take care.